What's going on, everyone? We're back with the 5th episode of Fall Guys University, and we're going to change it up a little bit. Today, we'll be covering the map Tiptoe. This is not a typical race map. It's made up of 130 tiles, where you have to navigate your way through the tiles to find the path. Some are fake and some are real. A few fun facts about this map. This is a Season 1 map. It's 13 deep by 10 long. It times out at 2 minutes. I think that's accurate. However, it's not really that important. The map rarely times out. There's also a LTM, or limited time mode, called Tiptoe Tournament, which is 3 rounds of Tiptoe, where the first place in the final round wins the crown. This video will be a little different. I'll split it into 2 main sections. I'll cover the basics, which will include basic pathing, general rules to follow, and how to navigate obstacles easily. The second part will specifically be for tips and tricks. Let's jump right into it. Here is a flyover of Tiptoe. It's very basic. You spawn 13 tiles away from the finish line, which are rows, and on a platform that is 10 tiles across, these are columns. You have to navigate through the course to finish, but be careful because some tiles are real and some tiles are fake. The most important thing on this map is how to identify what tiles are real and fake. There are a couple of rules and mechanics that allow us to do this easily. If a tile shakes, that means it's not real. Tiles will shake mostly at random. I say mostly at random because there's a predetermined path and a real tile will never shake. I like to say if it shakes, it's fake. If it's still, it's real. Now that we know how to determine whether some tiles are real or not, let's talk about the path and a way to rule out even more tiles that are not a part of the solid path. For pathing, we need to talk about the columns and rows. If we identify each column and row, this will make it much simpler. Let's go to the drawing board. To help describe the exact tile I'm talking about, we're going to label the rows A through M, which is 13 rows, and the columns 1 through 10, 10 columns. Note, in this video, the rows are important, but when we're actually playing, it's the columns you'll want to eliminate. Now let's go over a few pathing rules. There are 1 or 2 paths from start to finish. This means there could be 1 starting path and 2 ending paths, or 2 starting paths and 1 ending path. For starting and ending paths, there are 3 tiles deep. That means if tiles A, B, or C shake, you will not run down that column at the beginning of the map. This is because you can't go more than 3 tiles deep without some help. The same goes for the tiles closest to the finish line. If tiles K, L, or M shake, you will not end on that column, therefore crossing off those tiles. It's pretty much impossible to remember 80 to 100 tiles. So instead, we will only focus on the columns and the final 3 tiles. This will allow us to figure out the likely ending path or paths. You want to start by taking it slow, so you can look at only rows K, L, and M. These are the main tiles we want to watch. If you see any tiles shake in row K, L, or M, it will not be that column, so we can scratch it off. For instance, you see tile 8M shake, which means 8L is also fake, so it's not column 8. We repeat this process until we have seen 8 or 9 columns shake. Now that we have a way of figuring out the path, let's put it into action. In this clip, we are going to actively look for which tiles shake. Remember, we are only watching the final 3 rows of tiles. I'm going to call out a tile that shakes by the column and row. So if I say 4M, that means 4M shook, which is the 4th column in the final row. This means we know it's not column 4 because the path to the finish will have the final 3 tiles as real, and one of those 3 shook. As we watch this clip, I'm going to shout out all the tiles I see that shake. It will be kind of fast, so you may need to go back and rewatch it if you're not seasoned. Alright, so we see 4M shake, 8M shake, 5M, 10K, 6M, 3L, we barely see 1M shake, and 7M. So that's columns 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 10. There's only 2 columns left, and the path breaks to the right. And this isn't part of a split that comes back together in row K. So we know it's column 9. If you're wondering how certain players seem to know the path, they are not cheating, they are just using these methods. You usually have time to sit back and watch enough tiles shake to determine what the columns are. If you're unsure, you can always follow the pack. Let's review what to do when you're in the pack, as desync can get pretty bad here. You can get pushed off by the desync of all the beans if you're not careful. One thing to help with this is stand directly in the middle of the tile and keep tap grabbing or spamming the grab button. This will decrease your chances of getting randomly knocked off. Another strategy you can do is spam jump. However, I don't find this quite as effective, but it's better than just standing still and hoping. One thing to keep in mind is when you follow the pack, once you get close to finding the route to the finish line, you want to position your bean not in the back. So work your way to the front and try to not get knocked off. If you're in the back of the pack, it can be like trying to go through a brick wall, so all the beans end up in front of you and you don't qualify. The last thing to cover is the dreadful Bonkus. Don't worry, there are a few different tactics you can use to successfully navigate past a Bonkus. The first way is to run through the Bonkus. Just make sure you can fully run past it without falling off. Look to see what tiles shake. Then, once the Bonkus is at its high point, run. The second way is to dive under the Bonkus. This also requires good timing, but once you get it down, you'll have a huge advantage. The way to do this is let the Bonkus swing past you. Once it is fully passed, you start running. It'll hit its high point on the swing away. When it does this, jump. Wait until the Bonkus is approaching you and dive. You want to time your dive where you are still laid out as the Bonkus swings over you. It's okay if the Bonkus hits or bumps you. It'll likely ragdoll your beam, so this part is really important. Do not jump immediately after you've been hit by the Bonkus. Swivel your camera to get your footing and then run and qualify. If you keep running and jump too early, the Bonkus will hit you, you'll likely ragdoll, so when you go to jump and qualify, your beam simply won't jump and you'll run off the edge, or when you go to jump, you'll do a whack side flip and possibly fall off the side. Another not so sure way is to get hidden by the Bonkus. However, your timing and positioning need to be precise, or you'll get hit off the edge instead of into the finish line. The only other thing to add for the basics is there is a Yeetus on the map which you won't use until you've mastered the basics. But this will allow us to jump right into the tips and tricks section. A nifty little trick you can do is test a tile to see if it's real or not without falling. You do a jump dive where your arm or hand barely touches the next tile. This will trip the tile to either light up or disappear and you won't fall. I wouldn't recommend doing this unless you are alone or have some room, as a body bump can send you just far enough to fall if it's a fake. This is a great way to figure out the path if you get well ahead of the pack. Another thing you can do is to be able to fully jump across two tiles that aren't there. It's very easy to jump over one missing tile, but with two missing tiles you'll need to be precise and jump when your foot is right on the edge. It can even be a little over the edge, as there is some give in this game, but this can allow you to pass many beams if the path zigzags. Taking the yeet is a risk-reward option. You can get in a situation where the yeet is the only way possible to qualify. I won't go into detail on the yeet, as it's very position dependent on when to jump or fall off to use it successfully. It just takes some practice to get the timing down. You used to be able to frame one in multiple ways. Frame one is jumping or diving at the exact same time your feet hit the ground. You could frame one across the entire map, which meant you would spam jump, and if timed correctly, you could go from start to finish without tripping a single tile. You could simply go straight from start to finish by spam jumping in about 7 seconds. Another frame one thing you could do is go from row K to the finish line by frame one-ing off row M. You would run and jump and dive right when you hit row M. Even if it was fake, it would give you enough momentum to make it to the finish line. Two crazy and practical tricks are you can do a head jump from row K to the finish line, or you can also get double popped from row K to the finish line. Let's review. Remember the motto: if it shakes, it's fake; if it's still, it's real. Use visual cues to easily identify columns 3 through 7. Watch only the final 3 rows of tiles to eliminate columns. Once you have eliminated enough columns, you are very likely to have your answer. There are always 2 paths, however, they can overlap in areas, so it could appear there's only one path sometimes. Don't get caught up in the back once you are in row J or K. You can use 2 different tactics to help you not fall off the map if you are in the pack. For the Bonkus, it's about timing and positioning. If you mess up, let the Bonkus swing another cycle. You usually have way more time than you think. Jump across single tile gaps to pass other beams that run around these. For tricks, learning how to trip tiles correctly is a huge advantage on this map. Perfect the 2-tile gap jump. Test out frame one-ing with each update. If you want to learn exactly how pathing is predetermined, just let me know in the comments. Now let's end this with a clip of the comp scene do be like this.